Like all of you, I take a lot of pride in wildlife management on my own land. I'm constantly engaged in all sorts of projects that can benefit local wildlife and enhance hunting opportunities for family and friends. Hi, I'm Winkelman. You know, when it comes to growing trees, I'd hate to think about how many land managers out there that have failed while trying to succeed like me. Planting and getting trees to survive can be a really big problem. Looking back at all my struggles, God only knows how much time, money, and sweat equity I've invested into tree plantings over the years, only to see weeds, deer, rabbits, mice, wind, and drought destroy what I'd so proudly planted.
In an area where there's heavy deer pressure and browse pressure by other vertebrates, oftentimes the only thing you can really guarantee in a planting with unprotected plants is a high degree of failure.
Most people simply give up, convinced they've lost the battle. But before you completely throw in the towel, there is a solution: Plantra tree tubes. And I'm here to tell you, they can save the day for you just like they did for me. Plantra tree tubes cover and protect both planted and naturally regenerated seedlings while drastically accelerating their growth by shielding them from all the threats that endanger them.
You've got all the money and effort and energy that was spent producing that seedling, you've just wasted it. That's wrong. You've got to protect these plants out in the wild environment here.
Also referred to as tree shelters, Plantra tree tubes help build and grow the entire plant, from the roots to the stem and shoots, assuring that your plant not only survive, but thrive and succeed the first time, every time. They ensure that newly planted seedlings have more time to send down roots in search of nutrients and moisture, while protecting and nurturing the tree or shrub's growth until they're big enough to survive on their own. Here's how Plantra tree tubes work and how you can install them on your property. A wooden stake is driven into the ground next to each tree or seedling. This is to ensure the tubes and trees remain upright against wind and gravity. Plastic tubes are installed over seedlings or young started trees. These mini greenhouses are translucent to sunlight and are attached to the rot-resistant stakes with cable ties for support. Each tube has cross-flow venting that promotes effective air movement within each tube. Reducing threats from outside is important, but it's what's inside that truly sets Plantra tree tubes apart. Like plant growth, it all starts with managing sunlight. Plantra tree tubes are built with proprietary color pigments and sturdy light diffusing construction. Together, they create a greenhouse environment that diffuse red light from the sides and allow blue light from above, giving seedlings the specific sunlight they need in the way they need it. This combination is critical to grow the whole plant from roots to shoots. Plantra's larger tube diameters make sure leaves have enough room to open fully, which is necessary for optimal photosynthesis. All in all, Plantra's advanced greenhouse technology is the difference between simply shielding plants and growing them to reach their full potential. Tree tubes also make weed control fast and easy. Let's face it, weeds and grasses steal light, water, and nutrients directly from the trees you're trying to grow. Plantra tree shelters have solid bases that allow for herbicide spraying around each tube, killing off unwanted weeds without risking the health of the tree. I combined the tubes with Plantra's weed barrier, so I have a 1-2 punch against the many threats that prevent most trees and shrubs from ever reaching maturity. And that, my friends, is basically all there is to it. Plantra tree tubes work on your tree's behalf, and Mother Nature takes care of the rest. For me, the results of Plantra tree tubes absolutely speak for themselves. So let me show you what I'm talking about so you can see for yourself firsthand. Now this is June 26th, and it's up this high. That's amazing. I mean, I've had zero growth here in 5 years because the weeds just overtook it. The cost of the tubes and the matting and the stakes is made up in so quick by not having to replant, the cost and the time to go back and replant. We've replanted in hundreds of trees every single year here. Okay, it's now been about 8 weeks, 8.5 weeks. This tree here is right up to the top. See, this one is right here. Now, that's 8.5 weeks. That's a brand new seedling that was planted. It's out of the tube on a 4-foot tube. All these right in here were new seedlings this spring. Now these trees were planted last year from seedlings. Now look at this tree here. This thing's got to be 9 foot high. Almost all of these. Now again, seedlings in 1 year to 8-9 foot high. Think about that with the trees you've planted or the trees I've planted before. To me, this is amazing. Here's one that has got cherries on it. These are Nankin cherries. Again, this was tubed last year, so this is 1.5 years growth of the tree, and it's already starting to bear fruit. We put in blocks of flowering crab apples, about 1,500 or 2,000 of them in big blocks. Those were all planted from seedlings last year. So they've went from seedlings to the highest ones about 10 foot high in the course of 2 summers of growth. So that's about 1.5 years of growth from a seedling to produce some trees that are 9 and 10 foot high. You think about that. I've never even heard of anything like that before. Those flowering crab apples, the deer are going to absolutely founder themselves on them. The pheasants will founder themselves on them. The grouse will eat them, and the turkeys will eat them. All 4. As well as providing different complete edge effects. That's why this hedgerow thing runs about 3/8 of a mile right across the fields area to give an edge effect to the ranch, also to give hedgerows as well as food with the fruit trees. I have been totally wowed by the Plantra tree tube system, and if you want to save yourself a whole bunch of time, money, and aggravation, then I strongly urge you to install them yourself. Plantra tree tubes absolutely maximize success and helps your wildlife plantings grow to provide food for wildlife without becoming food for wildlife. I'm Babe Winkelman.